YouTube, what's going on? Tonight we're taking it to Brooklyn, Fort Greene to be exact, the home of the stick-up kids and truck jewelry. Now, as you see in this photo right here, this is Benjamin O'Garrio, the guy that y'all let the media convince y'all that he used a kid as a shield during the shootout. Who do we question when it comes to morality? The shooter that's aiming in the kid's direction or the person that's using the kid as a shield? Out of both parties, someone had to have some type of decency. And this man right here, he knew what type of life he was living and what came with it. So I'm sure he didn't think his life was more valuable than the kid's. Killer Ben is mentioned by popular artists in the music industry like Rakim, Foxy Brown, Mano, and many more. People still big him up to this day. Now, did Killer Ben use a kid to shield himself? No. We're talking about a time where dudes used to stop pumping when they saw an old lady walking by. A time where guys would give you a pass if they saw you was with your kids. But don't take my word for it, you can always do your own research. Now, coming up in Brooklyn in the 80s, you had to be a wolf, and you couldn't survive if you wasn't willing to hurt somebody. Wolves were very hungry, and they were getting younger and younger in the streets, especially when the crack hit the market. Killer Ben was playing with the guns at the age of 14, 15 years old. Once you apply that 5 pounds of pressure, it starts to become a lifestyle. Crack changed lives, so many lives, in so many ways. It caused so many wars between different projects. There was no question where the money was at because when you stepped out of the house, it was right in front of your face. Killer Ben started to hustle. He had multiple hustles, and one of those hustles involved showing the gun in exchange of belongings. As a youngin', you start off snatching purses and chains around the mall until you started to get your hands on some pistols. No one was really safe. Didn't care if you was 9 to 5 or an entertainer. Ben gave everyone a piece of the action. He was on everything. It didn't make any sense. In this line of work, he had to be quick. He had to be quick before the other stick-up kids. Just imagine people explaining that they don't have nothing for you because someone already got to them before you did. It was just infested with jack boys. He even bumped heads with the notorious 50 Cent, but who hasn't? He was sticking up everything moving in. It got to a point where he had certain guys pay him to stay away from their spots. But the mistake was, once you pay something, you may think it's over, but that's not the case. Even though they paid him, he would continue to double back because who are you gonna go to? The cops? And who's gonna do something about it? The guys really feared this guy because not only was he with the gunplay, but he'll beat you up bad, so the best bet was to play it cool. But he was one of the ones that used to play I'll Be Square. He would have a nice chunk of gold around his neck with the 4-finger rings, looking like a superstar. And this was a time where guys were scared to have any gold on them or anything of any value because they knew what that'd attract. But to be wearing that amount of jewelry, especially in the projects, your name had to have some type of respect on it. Now, when it comes to the street money, you may have to go to war. And over a period of time, Fort Greene was going at it with projects like Marcy and Lafayette Gardens. By 87, 88, he was already a feared man and he shot first, asked questions last. He was an armed and dangerous young man. He was letting everyone have it. You approach this man the wrong way, it's over. And it was during the shootout when the cops showed up to the scene and he began letting off at the cops. I mean, what a man supposed to do when the cops started to shoot first? And it was basically like it was self-defense against the cops. But if that wasn't the case, he wouldn't have been able to get out of that situation alive. But in 88, he turned himself in and was sentenced to 12 years for that attempt on that officer. He was about 19 to 20. Now behind bars, we all know you can't take your ratcheting with you. And a lot of dudes were getting exposed. He wasn't one of them. He managed to be a wolf behind bars. From getting into fist fights and knife fights, he didn't have any problem with the business. He was someone that you did not want to be on his bad side. And with him going to jail at the age 19, 20, he really haven't accomplished a lot on the streets. Like his run wasn't really that crazy. Like to be sentenced to 12 years, he ain't really seen any real paper. Like he was taking something, but he wasn't really seeing real money. Now, sitting behind bars didn't stop the wars going on back home. Guys from LG went to his residence looking for his brother. Now, however they got the drop and was able to just come through is a shocker to me. Just imagine how hard it was to get some address back in the day. You really had to do your homework. But they shot up the joint, causing a 3-year-old little brother to get hit, and eventually he loses his life. Things began to become very hot, like super hot, and it wasn't anything Ben could really do behind bars. He went through pain, yes, and revenge circulated through his mind like crazy. Being behind bars saved his life, and what I meant by that is if he was still on the streets, he would have rushed his death or done something to get him 20 years or even life. So jail really slowed him down, and jail could really save lives. Like, you got guys that's out here reckless, that one sit down can really change them and get them straight. Just like you got some fiends out here, when they go in, they can't get their shots, so they become clean. They become sober, they start working out, and they begin living a healthy lifestyle. And they'll just stick to that. So jail can really save lives. But he will only end up serving 6.5 years. And when he was released from prison, he went back to doing what he knows best. The thing was, it wasn't the same as the 80s. This was the mid-90s, and guys on the street had very less patience. He didn't even waste any time trying to shake down guys. He came home to guys that were small fry in the 80s, being big fish in the 90s. While sitting in prison, he discovered through magazines that hip-hop was bringing in millions of dollars, and it gave the impression of rappers being paid. He knew that they were sweet, and if he had the opportunity, he would pursue the easy lick. Now, the 1995 Source Awards was held in New York. That was the start of what the media like to call the East Coast versus West Coast beef. Now, this wasn't an event for the guys just coming home from prison that wasn't on their feet. Like, you had rappers walking around with gold chains. You had hustlers walking around with gold chains, coming out of nice cars. You had beautiful women that wasn't dare look at the guys that really didn't have nothing. So that wasn't really the type of space for guys getting on their feet. The 95 Source Awards was just crazy. It was just something in the air, and it was very intense. Y'all can look up how crazy the 95 Source Awards were. But Ben, he decided that it was time to jam something, and he was taking everything, like every chance he got. Like, he was taking money, chains, watches. But one fella Rolex he took so happened to be a part of Biggie's entourage. Ben just came home, so he didn't know who was who, and he didn't really care. He just needed that. Now, as far as the person that got his watch taken, I'm not gonna really say any names, but that action just couldn't get unchecked. And Ben was easily identified as the person responsible. When someone gets their chain or watch taken, they don't want it back. They just gonna pay you back with violence, and that's just that. Or you gotta pay a hefty amount of money, and Ben wasn't giving up shit. But one day, after visiting his mother, he would be paged and he would proceed to the nearest payphone. He didn't know he was being watched and followed the whole time. As he began to dial on the payphone, bullets ripped him apart. He was about 26, 27 when he lost his life. Now, people on the outside really don't understand on how short of a run he had. He went to jail at the age of 20 and did almost 7 years, and didn't even complete a full year on the streets until his demise. Yes, jail might have saved him, but this kid spent most of his prime being behind bars, so it wasn't really a story that would satisfy the viewer or the reader. I could do my best, and I could try to grab a highlight, but what is the highlight to grab your attention? Like, what was really the highlight? Was it him going to jail? Or was it the situation at the Source Awards? Now, did Biggie order the hit? No, he didn't. But that would be good for the story. And I heard all the rumors about how he checked out across the street from Biggie's crib, which caused him to move to Jersey because detectives started to question him. But the real questions are, was he already living in Jersey when the situation happened? And was Biggie's song Somebody's Gotta Die allegedly about Killer Ben? I don't know, but it would be good for the story. But it was said that Killer Ben's death sparked a war between Fort Greene and Brownsville, but what's new? Shout out to all my subscribers. Hit me up in the comments and definitely like the video. I'll try to give y'all one more, probably on Black Friday to finish this month. But y'all make sure y'all be safe, man, and have a good Thanksgiving. I'm out.